yesterday, but back to Michigan spring today. All right, as folks make their way over and we're ready to get started, just want to offer you a welcome again to today's press conference. As a courtesy to fellow media members as well as the coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question. If you're joining by Zoom, use the raise hand function for questions and we'll handle questions in the room first and get to Zoom questions as time allows. Recording the press conference on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. If you do have a question for our student athletes, we're ready to get started at any time. Give us a moment to get the microphone to you and we can begin. We will start in the first row on the right. Give us a brief moment.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. Congrats on making it to the second round of March Madness. Since your game last night, what have you learned about Michigan so far?
I would just say they play hard, definitely like offensive rebound, so we got to box out. We haven't really watched much film. We just get into the gym, going over their plays and sets, but, I mean, we really just go out there and play our game.
Yeah, I think we're trying to focus a lot on ourselves and rebounding is a big part. One and done is usually what we're focusing on, and as you say, they play hard, so we got to play harder.
Additional questions in the room? We'll go back to this same first row on the right.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. You spoke about the things that NC State does well. What's NC State basketball look like when it's functioning at its best, and how would you describe the key components of your team's identity?
Yeah, we talked a lot about this as a team, because when we put our jerseys on, we got to be proud about that we're wearing an NC State jersey. So we need to play for the team, for NC State, play together, and I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Just playing for one another, not just playing for yourself, is the biggest issue.
All right, we'll take the next question from the second row on the right.
Hi, guys. Lyra Sharma with the Michigan Daily. Tennessee is heralded for their press, just like Michigan is as well. So how do you think that game really prepped you for Michigan's press tomorrow?
Prepped as well. You know, we got to handle the pressure well. We have me and Kashi in the backcourt, maybe Zoe. So just going out there and playing our game just like we play Tennessee, not letting them speed us up and play our game.
We'll stay on the right in the first row.
Associated Press. What did you know about Coach when he was recruiting you? What was he like in that setting? And now that you've played with him, what new thoughts and perspectives do you have?
I think Coach is great. He has a lot of trust in his players, which you can see. He loves his guards, and both the players and him have a lot of trust in everybody that he puts on the court and the bench players. So, and he's a great guy outside of the court too. So it's just fun outside, and then when we're on, it's about business, but that's what everybody that comes here wants.
I can agree with what she said.
We'll go to the second row on the right.
Nate Schreck with the Michigan Daily. Obviously, this game is being played in Ann Arbor. Are you guys treating like this is a road game, and are you guys preparing like it's a road game, or are you focusing on it more as like a neutral site tournament game?
I don't think we thought too much about that. I think we just going out there and play like the second round of playoffs, so it's not really like home game. Of course, they're the home team, but we haven't really played much into the crowd.
Yeah.
Anything additional in the room? Okay, we'll go to the left side in the third row, and we'll continue to take questions in the room, and we have one waiting us on Zoom as well.
Ernie Myers, Wolfpack Sports Radio. Zam, you mentioned something in the press conference yesterday about your team coming together in a moment when things weren't going right and how that affected the team and brought y'all together. Talk about a little more about how that affected the team as a whole, you know, your confidence and relying on your teammates throughout the struggle.
I would just say, you know, it's all about leadership. You know, we had Zoe go out. She's a junior, so she's one of our biggest leaders. So just stepping into the role of just getting everybody on one board. Like, Tennessee makes her run. That's what they do. So just not getting frustrated and turn against each other. So a lot of teams, once they get down, they start to turn on each other. So us, we just came together after every possession, and we're going to continue to do that versus Michigan.
All right, for our next question, we'll go to Zoom, and Noah Fleischman. Give us just a minute to get you set up, Noah, and go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Tala, in the Notre Dame game at the ACC tournament, you didn't have a shot. Yesterday, it seemed like you were a lot more involved in the offense. What was that like for you and kind of getting back into to playing your game?
I think just keep being aggressive. Sometimes you don't get the looks, and sometimes it just happens. So just sometimes demand the ball, and when I feel like I have it inside, I just keep being aggressive because I trust my guards to make the right decisions. So it's just keep going. Yeah.
All right, we'll come back to this first row on the right for our next question.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. Michigan's got a variety of offensive weapons. What are going to be some keys for your team defensively tomorrow?
I would just say lock up and defend. Just take pride in playing defense. You never want anybody to score on you. So it's a regular game. Go in. We got the scout report. So just take away what they do best.
All right, we have time for some additional questions if there are any. We'll go back to the front row on the right here.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. You guys have a very guard-heavy offense. Found a lot of success driving into the paint last night. Brooke Quarles-Daniels is on the Big Ten all-defensive team. Just how does she impact the game, and what are you hoping to do against her in that defense?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question one more time?
Yeah, Brooke Quarles-Daniels on Michigan is one of their defenders. She's a guard, but
what number? I'm sorry.
5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're good. Number 5 on Michigan is a big defender on the Big Ten all-defensive team. How have you seen her impact the game, and will your team employ a similar approach driving downhill again?
To that question, I'm just gonna play my game. I guess all the guards just gonna play that game. We're not really worried about one specific player. If she plays good defense, she made defense. I guess she plays good defense. But we just playing our game. We're not gonna let anybody speed us up. We just gonna play our game at the end of the day.
All right, we'll head back to Zoom for our next question. And Noah, we'll get you queued up here. And go ahead with your question, Noah.
Yeah, Zam, you had mentioned, Kai Shi. How much confidence does last night's performance, give you in her if she has a bigger role again tomorrow?
She's a great player. I'm glad she went out there and played. She's a freshman, so it's kind of nerve-wracking coming in. I was nervous before the game, and I'm a sophomore, so I know she was before the game. So I told her on the court, like, it's me and you, like, we here together. So she did a great job, so I'm just ready for her to step up and do it again against Michigan.
Got time for a few additional questions if there are any. Go back to Taylor here and then Lyra.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. You guys are the 7th seed playing against the 2 seed. Does that give you a chip on your shoulder or an underdog mentality at all?
Yeah, they're a higher seed than us, and it's their home court. So, but I love being the underdogs because I don't think it's something we think about. I just think that we're just gonna go in there and get the first punch and do our thing. But yeah, of course, it's a part of it.
Second row on the right.
Hi guys, Lyra Sharma with the Michigan Daily. You guys, at least in past years, have some experience playing pretty deep into March, whereas this Michigan team, they're younger. And yeah, like last year, they I think bounced first, second round. So how do you think you're going to be able to exploit your experience? And what do you think that brings into a matchup like tomorrow?
I would just say we just continue to stick by what we do for the last couple of years, not really leaning on that. What team? We also young. We have no seniors on our team, so it's kind of just roll with it. Like at the end of the day, we have to play our game, and if we get far, we get far. But we're going to try to get as far as we can.
Anything additional for our student athletes? Okay, I think we're all set. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a few minutes with Coach Moore. To your fellow media members as well as the coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question. If you're joining by Zoom, use the raise hand function for questions. We'll address questions in the room first and get to Zoom as time allows. Recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We're ready to begin with questions for Coach Moore. If you do have something for him, please raise your hand and we can get a microphone to you. And we're ready to begin at any time. Begin in the second row on the right.
Hi, Coach. Lyra Sharma from the Michigan Daily. Michigan has a few losses this season, and from your read of that film and of those performances, what do you think it takes to beat this Michigan team?
Again, great team. Obviously, as I mentioned yesterday, I had an opportunity to see them on TV against UConn, and obviously they had a chance to win that game, a great game. But yeah, they present a lot of problems. Play really hard. They crash the boards hard. They're going to press a little bit different than Tennessee's press, but still man-to-man, similar press. And again, they got a lot of players that can hurt you. Again, 3 starters in double figures, and so Olsen, obviously a great player. Swartz shoots the heck out of it. Holloway goes, can score at all 3 ranges. So again, we'll have to play extremely well, but we're excited for the opportunity.
All right, we'll take our next question by Zoom from Noah. Give us just a moment to get you queued up. And go ahead with your question, Noah.
Hey, Wes, so just checking to see if you had an update on how Zoe's doing today and what you expect from her tomorrow.
Yeah, hard to say at this point. Obviously, our medical people, we're fortunate to have a couple of doctors with us and our athletic trainer. So they do a great job, and obviously the first priority is going to be her health and making sure she's not at risk as far as her future goes. But, some of it may come down to, just how she feels tomorrow. So we really, she won't be practicing today, taking all precautions with a boot, crutches, things like that, trying to keep weight off of it. And like I said yesterday, sending up a lot of prayers.
All right, additional questions for Coach. We'll stay in that front row on the right.
Larry Leach from the Associated Press. You have been around a long time. How has this game changed for the better in terms of talent, like the level of play, but also, challenges of the new era with NIL, revenue sharing, et cetera?
Okay, well, that was a very nice way of saying you're old, so I'd like to know your opinion on these things. Very nicely worded. You must be a journalist. Again, what's happened in the women's game is unbelievable. I started out Division III, been Division II, mid-major, now blessed to have been at NC State for 13 years. It's amazing. I was with Coach Yao back in the mid-'90s at NC State as an assistant. And, wow, the players have caused a lot of it. They're so much more exciting to watch, entertaining, skill level, athleticism. So they're the ones that have put the game on the map, so to speak. But, like in our case, we sell out almost all our home games, and it's a great atmosphere. And it's just a really exciting time to be in it. The portal NIL definitely has changed things, and it is a challenge. Probably if I were just a GM, I would be fired right now. But you got to wear a lot of hats and depend on a lot of help from a lot of people. We're fortunate. Our AD, our administration has been very supportive of women's basketball, and they're giving us a chance to compete at this level. And so just trying to navigate it all. So someone in my advanced age, that sometimes is a challenge.
We'll go back to Zoom for our next question. And Noah, give us just a moment, Noah, and go ahead with your question.
Yeah, and just, following up on Zoe, if she can't go tomorrow, how much confidence did it give you yesterday watching Kai Shi deal with the press as well as she did and playing the most minutes I think she's played in over a month?
Yeah, got a lot of confidence in Kashi. She probably doesn't realize it a lot of times because I'm hard on them. And your freshman year is tough. I mean, you're going from high school to playing at this level, at elite level. It's a big step. And but obviously Kashi's a very talented player. It's a big adjustment from the mental standpoint and all the things that are thrown at them. But she's handled that really well. She actually played well the first time we played Tennessee. She'd handled it really well and was a big part of that win. So I've got a lot of confidence in her, and I think the other players do as well, and that helps. Still not the same as having Zoe out there, a junior with her experience and all that she's done. But either way, we'll be ready to play.
Coach, we'll go back to your right in the first row.
Larry Leach from Associated Press, you mentioned Holloway scoring at 3 different levels. She's sometimes overlooked because of Swords and Olsen. I know you just started cramming on Michigan, but give me some more observations of Holloway, how good she is at both ends.
Well, first of all, I mean, she's shooting 40% from 3 and has made the second most on the team. So, and then with her quickness and her ability to get to the rim, that's a tough matchup. And so I think start there. She's one of the top in category of steals, so she makes plays on defense and gets them going in transition. And, again, as you said, I haven't had an opportunity yet to watch as much film as I will this time tomorrow. But, I mean, again, this does a lot of things well for them. And, I think to me when you're recruiting, if you can get a player that can shoot 40% from 3 and be explosive to the rim, that's a heck of a player. And they present matchup problems.
All right, Coach, for our next question, we'll go to the back of the room on the right.
Coach Matt Park, Michigan Radio. You've mentioned a few times, you talked about it last night, wanting to watch the film of your game. You talked about watching film here. When you watch that film, what are you looking for? Are you looking for tendencies? Are you looking for specific things that players do that you feel like your matchups could take advantage of? What is it that film study is going to give you to try to prepare for the game?
Yeah, so, obviously I've had a couple assistants working on Michigan all week, and so they're able to hand me scout clips, maybe 75 clips from about 2 or 3 games that they each watched. So that covers about 6 games for me. But, yeah, I think you look at how other people have defended, and you obviously look and see, scoring-wise, who were effective, slowing them down somewhat defensively. You do look at their strengths and what they do well. And, I always start out on my scouting report. First thing I do is write down the stats that I want to know, and that's, whether it's steals, rebounds, offensive rebounds, 3-point percentage, things like that. And just try to figure out, and again, you got to have a backup plan. I'm a real advocate of that. But, you kind of figure out how you want to match up with them and what you want to do versus pick on the ball, things like that. We usually play it several different ways. So what we think will be good against that team. And but, again, it's pretty comes out pretty quick how talented they are. They're a number 2 seed. So they're one of the top teams in the country. And so just trying to figure out how we want to offensively, what we think might work against what they do or their personnel. And, again, it's tough when you're playing somebody like Michigan.
We'll stay on your right, Coach, in the second row. Okay.
Nate Schreck with the Michigan Daily. Your players talked about playing NC State basketball. What does it mean to have that established team identity, especially in games like this with such a short turnaround time?
Yeah, this year's been a challenge in that we have no seniors, and we've have some new players playing key roles. And we have returning players that maybe have now a bigger role than maybe they've had in the past. So it's been an adjustment. And but that's what's nice. Now your freshmen are really sophomores. They've played 30 games now, which is what some people will play anyway. So you feel like, you've had a lot of time and you've hopefully covered everything you might see, and then now you get ready, you got a quick turnaround. It's really just a matter of reviewing things that we have already done at some point in the season. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm proud of this program. Finished in the top 10 6 of the last 7 years. And again, we've had some bumps in the road this year, and you know, hadn't been as smooth as we'd like. But you know, we're right here. You know, and to me, a big step in the March Madness is to make it to that second weekend, and so that's, you know, what's in front of us right here. One of these two teams is going to make it to that second weekend, and again, we know it's a big challenge, but and I like the way our kids played last night, and hopefully that's something that'll carry over and give us some confidence and give us some momentum.
You have time for a few more additional questions for Coach. We'll stay on this right side in the first row.
I wondered when you were going to jump in. I've heard you blew the players up again this morning, so I'm feeling a little lonely up here.
I feel like some other people have a turn.
Yeah, that was nice of you.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. Michigan plays mainly with one forward. You've got two who played over 30 minutes last night. How will you be able to use that to your advantage in the front court? And just generally, could you reflect on that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, again, they had a little bit more of a cushion last night, so I'm sure they were, you know, able to rotate pretty well and keep everybody fresh. And you know, they're a well-coached team. I'm sure they're very well conditioned, so I don't really think that that's going to be a big advantage. You know, we do. You know, obviously, Camille, Tilda. We got a lot of confidence in them, and then we go to the bench. You know, Maddie Cox been playing well, and even Mallory, we hadn't gotten her in a bunch lately, but so I do like our depth, and we do want to be able to score inside. I think you have to be able to do that, but yeah, I mean, again, I think Olsen, she can probably play. You know, she's been averaging almost 35 minutes a game anyway, so I don't think that'll bother her. And then they can rotate at the post position some. So I think, again, that won't probably be a big factor.
Second row on the right.
Hi, Coach. Lyra Sharma with the Michigan Daily. You guys have played some close contests against similarly ranked teams, Louisville, UNC, and you guys got the short end of the stick in those games. So what do you think it'll take to convert some of these high-level matchups into victories, like against Michigan?
Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, we've lost some tough we lost in overtime to Louisville, and we lost in overtime to Oklahoma on the road. So we've played some high-level teams, and then obviously the ACC. You know, we did win overtime against Virginia, won some other close games. So beat Tennessee in a close game early in the year as well. So we've been in a lot of those top games. You're right, we haven't always finished them, but hopefully that experience will give us some confidence and know that we can finish a close game like that. So, you know, again, big challenge, great team on their home court, but at the same time, we've been in that environment, and so I don't think, again, we'll be, you know, overwhelmed or intimidated by it.
We've got time for one more question for Coach, maybe two. If there's any in the room, please let me know. Okay. Thank you all for your time. Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah. 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 I pick on you so you don't step out there. I got you. Thank y'all.
That concludes today's press conferences for NC State. Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. Matt and Sean, welcome to today's press conference. As a courtesy to your fellow media members, as well as coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Provide your name and media affiliation when you ask a question. If you're joining by Zoom, raise your hand. Use the raise hand function for questions. We'll address questions in the room first. Recording today's press conference on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We are ready for questions for Olivia and Sila. Whichever of you would like to start, we're happy to bring the microphone to you, and we'll begin with Matt in the right.
Do I need to identify myself?
I think you're safe.
All right. So tell me the difference between being at home in the NCAA tournament last night and what it was like last year playing at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think it's just super special for us just to have the home crowd advantage, and Maze Rage really showed out, and just like our season ticket holders and all Michigan fans. So it's like our sixth man, so we're excited to continue that tomorrow.
We'll take questions from the left side of the room now.
Free press. I think it was Mila last night who talked about a meeting that y'all had. I'm curious if you guys were involved with the Maze Rage to sort of, increase the attendance. What was the conversation like? What was the argument?
Yeah, it was about a month ago, and it wasn't even an argument standpoint. I mean, everybody who was in the room had been to a women's game before. There were probably about 20 or 25 members, and it was just kind of to connect with them, tell them we appreciate them for coming. And I feel like that's the biggest impact we can have to have people come more is you connect with them, tell them your favorite spots to eat on campus, just like talk like a regular human, talk about your major, what classes you're in, and just connect. And, we came in the bus and there was like a line of 10 people waiting to get in 2 hours before the game, and that seems like a small thing, but we were all staring outside the bus to see like, oh my gosh, there's a student lineup to get in. So it's just special stuff like that to make us feel like we're connected with the student body and make us feel like we have their support.
I'm sorry, I guess I didn't mean argument as much as your pitch, right?
Yeah.
But was that the first time you saw that? I know Michigan State, obviously, that's an atmosphere that's probably a little bit similar to yesterday, but.
Yeah, it was a similar atmosphere, but I want to say out of the 1,000 student tickets available for claim, all of them were claimed. And so as soon as the doors opened 45 minutes before, they were piling in, filling that lower bowl of bleachers. And, even Michigan State, Ohio State last year, we've never seen anything like that. So it's just a testament to, what we've been able to build, what we've been able to connect with the student body. And we're just really appreciative of Maze Rage and the way they've showed up for us.
Go right ahead, John.
Ask another one. Okay, sorry. I asked your coach last night when Mila plays like she did last night, not just the shooting, but just in general, her pace, her calm. She's so, at least to my eyes, so unhurried, the way she kind of moves around. What does that feel like to you two when you're out there, and what does that mean to the club when you're out there?
Yeah, she's like the extra coach on the court for us, and so we look to her for the play calls. We look to her to lead the huddles, and whatever she sees, we go with. And so I just love how steady she is at all times of the game, high or low. She's always doing a great job, and I'm really glad she had a great night yesterday.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see her growth and confidence as well. She was doing that last year, but she just has a different type of presence on the court this year. And even though, she's been on triple-double watch early in the season, you can tell, she's comfortable in her role, and she knows that, we go as she goes. We're here to listen to her, and it's just been really fun to sit and watch her grow into that point guard position.
For us, when we're sitting up or watching on TV, you don't sense that or feel that something. But sitting courtside, like we do for the tournament, you can even just when she come up and she call them for a ball screen and the patience and waiting the extra beat to get the ball over the top to whoever's going to roll to the rim, just stuff like that is a little easier to see up front, and it just made me think that must be comforting in some way, that sort of understanding and that vision.
For sure, just to know that obviously Liv and I carry a lot of the bulk of the offense, and to have somebody like Mila, other people like Brooke, who also has a really high IQ of the game, Tayala being able to come off the bench and provide a lot of great offensive minutes, even our bigs too, always sealing, giving us good offensive looks. I think it's a big group effort to our offensive contribution, but to have somebody like Mila who understands the game, not only from a scoring standpoint, but from a passing standpoint, it just brings the rest of the four people on the court a lot of comfort in playing.
We'll go back to the right side.
So Coach yesterday talked a little bit about the competition between you two for who can be the hardest worker, if you will, like who's diving on the floor most, who's in a friendly way. Mm-hmm. I would like to ask both of you, like, what is that? Do you compete against each other, and is there this idea that by doing that you're making each other better? And what's the stakes, if there are any, of the friendly competition?
I think it's not so much against each other, but I think it's with each other. Like, we want to raise the program to another level, and I think we're just like wired a little differently in the effort aspect of we want to bring our teammates up to that level, and I think coach has done a great job of like getting that from everybody, and so that's who we are, and we want to be the best, and so to be able to do that together and just compete together, I think it's really cool, and it makes it fun.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't say it's like a back and forth standpoint at all. I just think from the very beginning, like she said, like we have a very similar mindset. So coming in as a freshman, there was just a sense of familiarity as being on the court with Liv. It's like kind of like a mirror reflection, just thinking like she's out here doing this with me, so why wouldn't I be going 100% just like she is? And so it's just been really special. Like, you don't see the best players in the country. I don't know what she averaged, but like close to 20 and 7, something like that. Like, you don't see them diving on the floor the day after a game to get a loose ball. And that's just an encouraging thing, not only for me, but for everybody else that is a staple of our program.
All right, we're back to the left side in the second row.
Olivia, you said you obviously want to get this program to a different level. What were the conversations like with Coach when she first started talking to you when you were in high school? And how much did you talk about that?
Yeah, she talked about her goals of the program to make it to a Final Four, make it to a national championship, and talked about the people that came before us, and Nas and Caitlin Flaherty, and how they committed to her and to raising the bar of the program, and they did so, making Sweet 16, Elite 8. And so I think just following in their footsteps, and all Coach does is recruit players like-minded, hard workers that want to bring the program to another level. And I mean, we've done that this year, and we've done that together, and we just want to continue to raise the bar and continue to raise the standard of Michigan basketball.
We've got time for a few more questions if we have any additional ones in the room. Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, one more. I should ask you about North Carolina State. What you think? What you've seen on the scout so far?
It's going to be a really physical matchup, I think, opposed to last night's team where they got a lot of their offense off of passes, off of cuts. This is a lot more one-on-one. They're very skilled players, so we're going to have to lock in on our one-on-one defense, but also loading to the paint and making sure that, we have each other's support defensively.
Anything additional in the room for Olivia or Sila? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you both. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Just a friendly reminder, as a courtesy to your fellow media members as well as the coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question during today's press conference. If you're joining us by Zoom, use the raise hand function for questions. We'll handle what's in the room first. Recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited, and we're ready to get going with questions for Coach. If you want to begin, just raise your hand. We'll get the microphone to you. We'll start here in the first row on the left. Let's give us a brief moment.
Larry Lage, Associated Press. Anyone who's watched your team this year knows how good Mila is, but with more eyes watching because of the NCAA tournament, what kind of opportunity is this for her, and what are people going to see?
Yeah, Mila Holloway's a special player. She's been a special player for us since she stepped on campus as a freshman, and I think she's just growing and improving every single day, which is what you want from all your players. But she wants to be the best point guard in the country, and whether she's watching film, whether she's studying our plays, whether she's meeting with her teammates, she's trying to do something to really work on her game. I think the rest of the country got to see last night how special she is. She can score the basketball. She makes other people better. She had a great rebounding night. She could be a great defender. So she really impacted the game for us last night, and we're counting on her to do that moving into tomorrow.
Second row on the left.
Coach, and I hate to compare, I promise I'm not doing that, but Dusty May talked about, he said this a few months ago, that he knew back in the summer they were going to be pretty good, that his team was going to be pretty good this year. And I'm curious, when you figured that out with your group, and was it even maybe a year ago when you got the three sophomores as freshmen kind of projecting forward?
Yeah, I don't know. Dusty's mindset's a little bit different. I always am, are we going to be good? I'm always questioning, how good are we really going to be? I think that's the coach in me. But last year, and I know we talk about this a lot, when this group of sophomores came in as freshmen, they were just different. When we headed into the first game of their college career in Vegas against South Carolina, I don't know if people expected us to lose by 30, and we were in a one-possession game at the end of the game. And at that point, I realized that we had something special. This team just doesn't get flustered. They don't get sped up. They are completely unselfish. They are incredibly hard workers. They want to get better. They want to be the best. So I have an opportunity to coach them through their freshman year and now well into their sophomore year. I knew we would have a chance to be pretty good for sure when they all came back, when Mila and Sila went to play Canada basketball. They got some international experience this summer. The rest of them stayed on campus. We got a couple of transfers to add to that mix. I knew that we would have a chance to be pretty good. Did I realize that we would be a top 10 team all season long? No. Did I realize that we would play some of the best teams in the country, the number 1 and the number 2 team in the country, to a one-possession game with a chance to tie the game in both of those games? No. But I think sometimes this team, this group of young women, continue to surprise me. They're fearless. They go into every game believing that they're going to win that game, and they prepare themselves to do that. So they're just a different group. Would I have expected it? No. I would have hoped that we would be pretty good, but I'm really happy where we are.
Back to the first row on the left.
Larry Lage, AP, if Brooks is healthy for NC State, what does she bring to the table? I'm sure you watch film from previous games, and I'll do a two-parter. Wes Moore, when you think of him, what do you think of him in terms of his career, legacy, style?
Yeah. Well, two things. Zoe Brooks's dad played for my husband in college football, played football for my husband. So I've known Zoe Brooks since she's been a little girl growing up in the state of New Jersey. And she was a special player from the time she was 5 years old. She just can affect the game in so many ways with the ball in her hand. She's so dynamic. She's such a playmaker. She can score the basketball. She can facilitate. She's just built a little bit different. And she has been great for them. The start that they had last night with the ball in her hand was just different. I mean, I think they were 8 for 8 to start the game, and that was without Pierre even getting a shot, and she's a double-double machine. So they just had a tremendous start. I think, they have so many players that really ignite their team, but Zoe is certainly one of them, and she's got to be one of the best, players in the country. When I think of NC State, and I said this heading into this tournament, when I saw that we would be hosting and then we would be hosting Tennessee and NC State, like, holy cow, those are two of the, known programs in women's basketball. Those are two of the premier programs in women's basketball. They are two programs that have been to championships or been to Final Fours. So NC State has had a tremendous run prior to Coach Moore being there, but since he's been there as well. He's one of the best coaches in our business. He does a really great job. They've been a great team year in and year out, and always sign of a really great program is to have that consistency year in and year out, and they've had that consistency. They have great players, and, they have a great coach. They're a really great program.
Coach, we'll go to the right side of the room in the back.
Hey, Coach. Matt Park, Michigan Radio. NC State's got a couple of bigs with the 6'6" center and then the 6'2" forward in Pierre. Don't see it a lot. We saw it a little bit with Iowa. They don't do the same necessarily offensively, but the two bigs, how do you plan to try to neutralize the two of them when they're on the floor together?
Yeah, that's definitely, a challenge. 6'6" is tough matchup for anyone, and we talked a little bit about that at practice today. You can't just go right at her. Her shot blocking ability is crazy. You have to have a counter move. You have to do something different. And she shoots the ball really well too. She pick and pops. She's a face-up kid that's playing really well when they do a great job. She is really involved on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. And then Pierre, I mean, we talked about her a lot in our scout. I mean, she's a double-double every single night. And, I watched their press conference last night, and she's like, well, that's kind of what's expected of me. I'm like, well, that's pretty nice to know that, you're expected double-double every night. She's incredibly talented. She has a knack for the basketball. She has a motor for the basketball. She reminds me a little bit of Naz in terms of her rebounding motor. And then she has incredibly soft touch around the rim. She can take you with a back to the basket. She can take you with a face-up. So obviously that's going to present a challenge for us. I think one of the great things about our team is our versatility, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday. We have length and size at multiple spots. They might be guards, but they're big and strong, and we can use them in positions to have to guard a big at times. So we will definitely be able to, shift our matchups and try to utilize that. I think the other thing when we face matchups like that too is the flip side is how are they defending us? If they have two big bigs out there, like, does that give us a matchup advantage? And, who for them is defending Olivia Olson? Who is, defending Teala Del Fas? So we always try to, as much as that's going to be a challenge for us this way, how can we take advantage of our matchup? So try to figure out that chess match a little bit.
Back to your left, Coach, in the first row.
Larry, JP, you mentioned Tennessee and NC State being, premier programs. Do you think your program is now with, and you mentioned consistency, 8 straight tournaments. Has this program arrived or not yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be sitting here. It's been cool to be in a top 10 all season long. To get a 2 seed, I think is really special. And, we had Olivia and Sila up here a few minutes ago, and when I go down, when you're preparing for your opponents and you go down, your players match up with their players. I mean, Olivia and Sila are two of the best players in the country right now. They're two of the best women's basketball players, and they decided to come to the University of Michigan, and they decided to, help create something, to leave their legacy and to help create something incredibly special. And, Mila came on board with that, and Tayala came on board, and all the players that came before, and the players that stayed, whether that's, the Macy Brown or Lissa Crockett. So I think, our position, our team right now is in a really great position. We've been consistent, but now we're trying to take that next step, and that next step is advancing in that tournament. That next step is hanging some more banners, and that next step is being one of the top programs year in and year out.
All right, we have time for some additional questions for Coach if we have one. We'll get our microphone over to the right side of the room and take one all the way over there.
Hi, Coach. Lyra Sharma with the Michigan Daily. In those open practices, it was so clear from Friday that your team was just having so much fun out there. They were really close. What does that kind of team culture really say about your team? And what do you think it brings in these types of tournaments?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, you realize as you go through this, and I've been coaching for a pretty long time now, they're young women, and they are driven and passionate and hardworking and want to be successful. All that being said, they want to have fun, and they want to be connected. They were up here talking a little bit before about how they went and met with the Maze Rage. And their meeting with the Maze Rage was about connecting and building those relationships, because if they wanted them to be at our games, they felt like they had to have a relationship with them. I think the same is true with the culture of our team and our program. They want to have a relationship with each other. They want to have a relationship with the coaches, and they want to feel like we're in this together. And it's about winning basketball games, but really it's about having a great time while we're doing it as well. And I think when we're loose and we're having a good time and we're playing for each other, we're playing at our best. So I hope, you could see the energy when you come to practice. I forget sometimes you guys only get to watch the games and you really don't get to watch practice. But that's kind of the intensity of our practice every day, and that's kind of the environment of our practice every day. And when you have great people, and we have great people, our players are incredible, incredible people, and they love basketball and they love to have a good time. So I'm glad that shined through when you guys had a chance to watch us.
Coach, we'll go to your left in the third row.
Kim, Angelique Shingelis, Detroit News. Talking to a couple of the players, they said this is your most skilled group. How do you change your coaching when you've got this much talent? And in your 14 years, how have you changed?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That's an interesting question, because I always reflect on other coaches and other teams, and trying to learn and trying to continue to grow and evolve. And I think that's one of the most important things as a coach, as a person, is that you continue to grow and continue to evolve. Kids are different 10 years ago to how they are today. So if you don't grow and evolve, you're going to be, left behind. So I think you have to connect with the players that you're coaching, and you have to change with the times. And this group kind of has allowed me to do that because they're so willing to do it. So I think, open dialogue has been really, really important. And I always tell them too, if this is important to you, if you say that this really matters, please tell me, because then it's going to matter to me. So I think we've developed that kind of rapport, and they are extremely, extremely talented. But they're extremely, extremely hardworking. So they want to be pushed and they want to be challenged. I think the number one thing with this group is they want to be developed. They came in as talented players, but they didn't come in as finished products. And they say to us as coaches every single day, like, how can you help me be better? Can I watch film? Can we get on the court and work on this? And I think, sometimes I don't talk enough about my team of assistant coaches that are just been the best, and they've been working with these women for now we're like almost on 100 practices every single day. And we, at the end of the year, we put together a development plan, and then we meet and discuss it throughout the course of the year. And are we getting better, and where are we? And I think as coaches, the things that make us most happy is when you see players develop, and when you can really see the things that they've been working on come into play. And, a number of times these last couple of days, people have talked about Mila, and just to see Mila's growth over the course of her time here has really been special. So I think as much as we have more talented players, basketball is basketball and coaching is coaching, and these young women are talented, but they want to get better and they want to continue to grow and they want to continue to improve. So as coaches, how are we going to help them do that? And as we help them do that, we become a better program.
All right, we got two more. We'll see if we have time for a third, beginning on the right in the third row.
Nate Shrek with the Michigan Daily. Obviously, super quick turnaround games with these tournament games. What can you say about your staff and then also your players' preparation to get ready in only about 2 days?
Yeah, like I said, my staff, it's, kind of 24/7 at this time of year. Even last night, it was probably close to midnight, and I said, I can't keep my eyes open anymore, guys. Like, I got to get to bed. And they were, still sitting in our workroom, just getting prepared for today. And getting prepared for today meant getting ready for NC State, but it also meant us reflecting on yesterday as a team and what could we do better. So we had one coach working on that and showing clips this morning of us and where were some of our mistakes yesterday and how can we improve, and a quick turnaround on them, as well as getting prepared for NC State. So I think my staff is just, it's like all hands on deck, and everyone has been phenomenal. And then today, in between, they're meeting with our players, watching film from yesterday so they can see where they can really improve, as well as then watching their opponent for tomorrow and what their matchup's going to be and how to really lock into that. So one of the things we've challenged our team with is really, our maturity and our focus. And as a young group of, mostly sophomores, how do you sustain that for longer periods of time? And I think, we challenge them with that every single day in practice. Okay, we're really great in practice for 90 minutes. Can we get better in practice for 100 minutes? We're really great in games for 15 minutes. Can we get better for 20 minutes? So in the quick turnarounds, it's like, okay, how sharp can we be in one practice? And that was today, while at the same time trying to make sure that we're resting, we're recovering, and we're having our legs, because we want to bring our legs into the game tomorrow. So I think, I talked a lot about my staff, but our training staff, our nutritionists, all the other people that are around our players 24/7 are key to our success. I mean, Christina Fanning is our trainer, and she is like all hands on deck. Some of them are scheduled for massages. Some of them were in the cold tub. After games, she's here 3 hours post-game to make sure that they get the treatment that they need and make sure that they're feeling great coming into the next day. So I think it's, a whole team of people just pouring into them as much as possible, but then also our players making sure that they're locked in and focused on a quick turnaround.
We'll take our final question for Coach from the second row on the right.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. Talking about all those assistant coaches, one of them, Danielle, is now back with the program after being a player. What's that been like, and could you describe the phone call to bring her back to Ann Arbor?
Yeah. So I think as a coach, every player, leaves their mark on you personally. But those underdog stories that people have to stay and have to persevere and have to fight through and don't see results. And we're not talking about not seeing results for a day or a season. We're talking about not seeing results for potentially years. That was kind of Danielle Roush's story and kind of her career until her senior year. And prior to that, or late in her junior year, prior to that, she battled through injury. Prior to that, she didn't get much playing time. But she came to practice every single day and was our hardest worker, our most committed kid. She'd be in there studying the point guard position and helping our starting point guard, and Amy Dilk at the time, learn all the plays. She was like another assistant on the bench when Amy was out there for Amy, calling the plays for her and helping her read her reads. So she always had something in her to be a coach, and she always had that extra effort and that underdog mentality. One of the greatest stories is, her junior season when we were headed to the bubble and the NCAA tournament. Our starting point guard at the time got an injury and wasn't able to make the trip. So we were getting on the plane to head to the bubble, and I always say Danielle probably played 10 minutes in the 5 games prior to that. And she was getting on that plane realizing that she was going to be our starting point guard in the NCAA tournament when she hadn't really played much all season long. She led us to a Sweet 16. She led us to a Sweet 16. She was ready for that moment. It was, I mean, it could bring me to tears every single time because that's just, she was ready for the moment and she embraced the moment, but it was all her work behind the scenes that no one saw to make her ready. And so many other people, 95% of the rest of the world, would have quit or would have not given 100%, and she never did that. So to now have her back, I mean, I tried to get her back probably before she actually came back. She always wanted to come back because her and Naz have had this plan since they were players of who's going to be my successor. They have me gone already. But they have this plan. They used to fight about it in practice of like, who's going to replace me? I'm like, okay, guys, I have a few years left in me. But then Danielle would always be like, Naz, you're going to be playing, so I'm going to be coaching and I'm going to be ready. And Naz is like, they'll hire me before they hire you, you know? So they would banter all the time back and forth about who is going to be the next coach at Michigan, which one of them is going to follow me. So I always knew that she wanted to be a coach. And I think when you face that type of adversity as a player or any type of adversity in your life like that, and you know, just persevere and overcome. Like, what an incredible role model for our players to have. And what a difference maker she could be in their life. And I think, you know, it makes me sad that our players really don't understand, because when you're in the moment, you think our current players, they think they're the only people ever have gone through this situation, and it couldn't have happened like this to anyone else in the whole world, when actually it has. And I think for them, Danielle is that person that's been through all of those situations. So she really connects with our team. She really helps make us a better program. She really understands what it takes to be successful and to pour in when you're not seeing results. So I don't know, my first phone call, she might have been back here with her classmates, I think, to watch a football game, Naz, Emily, the whole crew. And I tried to get her then. And she might have been running away from me at the time, like not ready for it. But she's done a heck of a job, and I'm happy she's back at home.
Thank you so much for your time, Coach. We
Thank
appreciate
you, guys.
it. That concludes today's press conference for Michigan. Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Thank you for joining us.